She said she'd only stay until the rain stopped. She did not say what she was running from, only what she'd once had to run toward. By the time the storm passed, the shopkeeper would understand that the woman sitting across from him hadn't walked to his shop that night. She'd been sent. The shop belonged to old Rutten, a quiet man who kept odd hours and asked no questions. That night, a woman appeared at his door drenched from a walk that should have taken hours, though she didn't seem tired at all. "Just until the storm passes," she said. "If that's no trouble." Rutten gave her a stool, some puffed rice, a little jaggery. She ate carefully, like someone counting each bite. "You're a sadhaka," he said, noticing her simple robes. "Walking alone this far from any ashram, at night in this weather?" She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I wasn't always alone on this road," she said. "There's a reason I know it so well." Rutten, curious despite himself, asked the question that would keep him awake long after she left. "What reason?" "7 years ago," she said, "my elder niece Namita married into a good family, the Sahus in the next district. For a while things were happy. Then she became pregnant. And then she died giving birth. Never even held her son. The new father, Makund, was left holding a newborn he didn't know how to comfort, and a grief he couldn't put down. His parents, desperate and well-meaning, urged him to remarry. Not for himself, they said, but for the child who needed a mother's hands. Makund refused for weeks. He loved Namita. He couldn't imagine replacing her. But watching his son cry through the night for milk that would never come, he finally agreed to marry Namita's own younger half-sister, Sunita. Sunita loved the boy as her own from the start. In time, she had a son of her own too, and the household seemed finally at peace. Until one evening, Sunita left her infant asleep in the care of her stepson while she fetched water, and returned an hour later to find both children gone. She found the older boy playing calmly in the yard, insisting he'd been there all afternoon, that he'd never gone near his baby brother. The next morning, a neighbor found the infant's body in the mango orchard. The village whispered explanations. A fox got in through an open door, some said. Others said, quieter, that something not of this world had done it. No one agreed, but everyone remembered the strange detail no one could explain. Sunita swore she'd seen her stepson in the house, minding the baby. At the exact hour, a neighbor swore the boy had been sitting in her own yard the whole time. 2 years passed. Sunita became pregnant again. This time, Makund's parents came to her with an unusual request, one made from fear, not tradition. "Stay with us for this birth," his mother said. "We couldn't protect you last time. We won't make that mistake twice." Sunita agreed without hesitation, moved into her in-law's home for her final month. And it was there that fate brought the sadhaka, her own aunt, back into her family's life for the first time in years. My sister came from ashram herself, the woman told her. "I left the world alone, or told myself. But when your own blood calls you, can you really refuse?" The night Sunita's second child was born, the sadhaka said, was a night exactly like this one. Labor began suddenly, violently. The midwife was called, and the sadhaka, stepping into the room, was struck by a smell she recognized instantly. One that told her everything her sister had feared was true. She pulled Makund outside without explanation. "I need an axe," she said. "Now. No questions." Outside, the storm had turned unnatural. Wind that seemed to hunt them rather than simply blow, a howling that came from no single direction. "Cut," she told him, pointing to an old tree at the property's edge. "Don't stop, no matter what you hear. I'll hold it back as long as I can." Makund swung the axe against the trunk as the sadhaka chanted, over and over, holding a line neither of them fully understood, until, with one final scream that didn't sound human, the storm broke. A voice answered him, one he hadn't heard in 7 years. "You didn't recognize me even standing right in front of you, Makund. It was Namita, not a memory, not a dream, standing in the storm's wake as clearly as she had the day he married her. You brought a new wife into our house within a year of my death. she said. I never came back for revenge, Makund. I came back to protect what was still mine. Makund, shaking, tried to explain himself, that he'd only remarried for the baby's sake. Not for the baby, Namita said. For yourself. You wanted the ache to stop. That's not the same thing. Inside the house, the Sadhaka found her other niece, Sunita, weeping uncontrollably, for reasons she couldn't explain even to herself. When pressed, the truth came out in pieces the Sadhaka had never known. Sunita wasn't Namita's full sister. She was her father's daughter by his second wife, after Namita's own mother had died young. And in that household, love had never been divided evenly. Sunita had been favored constantly. Namita quietly pushed aside smaller portions of food, chores no one asked Sunita to do, trips and treats meant only for one daughter. I didn't know, the Sadhaka told Rutan, her voice breaking even years later. I thought I understood my own sister's family. I understood nothing. Namita had grown up in that shadow, married, found happiness at last, and then died before she ever got the chance to raise a child of her own free of it. And when her husband remarried her own half-sister within the year, something in her refused to let the pattern continue silently into the next generation. You killed an innocent child, the Sadhaka told her dead niece, unflinching. Whatever pain you carried, that doesn't undo what you did to Sunita's baby. Namita didn't deny it. I won't pretend it away, she said quietly. But I couldn't watch that boy grow up neglected the way I did, or worse, replaced the way I felt replaced. I acted before I let myself think. That was wrong. I know that now. Sunita, listening from the doorway, finally spoke, her voice steady despite everything. I never once loved your son less than my own, Namita. Never. If you'd only asked me, if you'd only seen me, you'd have known that. For the first time since she'd appeared, Namita's certainty cracked. I believed you loved him. I saw it. But grief doesn't listen to what it can already see. Namita turned to leave as the storm finally, fully broke, the wind dying, the sky clearing overhead. I won't come back to harm anyone again, she said. You have my word. But hear me, all of you. If that child or any child in this house is ever neglected, overlooked, made to feel smaller than another, I will know. And I will come back. She looked at Makund one last time. Go inside, she said. Your second child is already in this world. Go meet them. And then she was gone. Not vanished dramatically, simply not there anymore, the way a held breath finally releases. The Sadhaka finished her story as the rain outside slowed to a drizzle. Rutan sat in silence for a long moment before he found his voice. So the Sadhaka in your story, the one who cut the tree, who held back the storm, was me, she said simply. That family calls me Mousy. You may simply call me a traveler who needed shelter from the rain. She stood, thanked him for his kindness, and stepped back out into the last of the storm. Walking, once again, a road she knew far too well. Rutan closed his shop that night, still turning her words over. Mothers protect their children whether they're living or not. He never saw her again. But 3 villages over, they say, a woman answering her description still appears. Always during a storm, always near a family with more than one child. Nobody's ever caught her lying. If this one got you, subscribe us on YouTube for more. If your family has a story like this one, send it to us in the comments. It might be the next animated story we tell.